rebuild of the favorites. We here for the latest. South side or the north side, not tuned to the greatest. Home team for the home teams. Both sides got our own rings. On the mound or the long ball, but we don't pull the wrong strings. Yeah. It's that time of the year now. Wrigley or Gantes or the whole league that we hear now. New show with a new mood. Discussions and interviews. Trade rumors that might be. This is Pinwheels and Knife.
Hello and welcome to the Pinwheels pregame show, bringing you White Sox talk every Wednesday at the 12 o'clock hour. Winter meetings going on in Houston right now. The White Sox have made some signings. There's a lot of rumors buzzing, so let's get right into it. Just a reminder, Sports Mockery, sportsmockery.com. You can get all of your latest White Sox, Cubs news this offseason. And we also got the regular Pinwheels and Ivy show coming this evening with K-Fids and Aldo. That'll be 8 o'clock here. Make sure you're following us on Pinwheels and Ivy on Twitter and YouTube as well. And you can watch all of those live streams. But they're going to be handling all the Cubs talk because there's some Kyle Tucker rumors brewing there. So some exciting stuff happening in Cubs land. Finally, because it's been a pretty slow offseason for them as well. All right, let's get right into it on the White Sox side of thing. Very excited by this signing that they just made. Fellow Bradley alumni, Mike Tauchman, becoming a Chicago White Sox. And he was signed, so they inked him to a $1.9 million deal. It's a one-year deal. There's $1 million worth of incentives thrown in. And then interestingly enough, it's reported, according to Bruce Levine of 670 The Score, they have a $250,000 relocation bonus if Tauchman is traded. So that's kind of interesting to note. Maybe they do plan on flipping him. I thought that was kind of an interesting little nugget. Now, Tauchman, you might be familiar with him. He spent his last 2 seasons with the Cubs. I was a little surprised he got non-tendered by the Cubs. And because I'd always been a big Tauchman guy, because he had went to Bradley, one of the better players we had in our history down there, I'd always kind of follow him with the Cubs. So I was jokingly tweeting like, oh man, the Cubs kind of did him dirty, but they did. He was a very solid player for him. Now his defense, he can play all 3 outfield positions. He's not a very good defensive player. He's a serviceable outfielder, but he can play all 3 outfield positions. But where he is valuable is he doesn't have a lot of power either, but left-handed bat, which the White Sox need, and he gets on base. He works a lot of really, really good at bats. I mean, look, if you look at last season, I'm going to pull up his numbers here, but he had a walk rate. It was 13.4% walk rate. It was in the top 2% of all MLB hitters. The year before, he was drawing walks at a 14% clip. So that was also ranked in the top 10 in the MLB. So the guy draws a lot of walks. He was also pretty clutch for the Cubbies last year, too. He had a couple big walk-off hits late in games, and just late in games in general, they have a stat on Baseball Savant, just like clutch situations. He had an 800 OPS. So maybe not the highest average in a lot of these big-time moments, but he'll get on base. He'll do what he needs to do to keep the line moving, keep games alive. And when you need a big knock occasionally to come through, another big play he made, just speaking of clutch gene, it seems like he kind of has one of his more memorable moments with the Cubs is when he robbed that home run in St. Louis. It looked like it was going to be a walk-off home run for the Cardinals. Instead, Tauchman snags it in center field and wins the Cubs the game. So the guy's got some dog in him too, despite being 34. He works good at bats. Now, look, he's not going to be the solution to right field. Chris Getz did say, like, we're planning on dressing right field during the winter meetings. That's like one of the first thing he told reporters. A few hours later, they go out and get Tauchman. Was that what he was alluding to? Probably. Is this their long-term solution? No. He's 34 years old. It's a one-year deal. So I think for what they're trying to do now, though, is just get some veterans to kind of have some stability in that locker room with some of the younger guys they're bringing up. I really like that signing, especially paired with Austin Slater, who they got, who's kind of a similar type dude where he works a lot of good at bats. Slater's big thing from everyone that would talk to him or just listening to former coaches talk about him was he's a professional hitter. He understands the strike zone. He knows where his spots are, and he didn't really expand the zone either. Tauchman didn't really expand his strike zone much either. Both these guys know how to get on base. Now, Slater tended to only really hit lefties. He's kind of a lefty merchant. Now, the splits were reversed this past season. You wouldn't really, but like historically, Slater only really hits lefties. In fact, a lot of the time he was kind of the fourth outfielder in San Francisco. They would only play him against left-handed pitchers if it was a matchup wise. So I see this being a platoon situation. Getz came out and was telling reporters, Vinny Duber of CHGO had a tweet saying that like he thinks it's going to be a really, quote, nice pair in right field. And I agree, depending on the matchups, those two, that's a serviceable right field situation. The Palatine Pounder also, local Nick kid. I mean, there's what not to like. What not to like. And not many people can say they played their high school baseball, college baseball, and then professional baseball all in the wonderful state of Illinois. And he played for both teams. So that's always nice. Now, he owns a career 241, 344, 374/9. Again, those numbers aren't going to jump off the page. He did actually have to go to Korea for a year before he signed on with the Cubs. But anyone that's watched him on the north side, you know he's a dog. I think he's going to be a great fit with that locker room as well. Now, the real question becomes, we got Tauchman and Slater, who I would imagine is going to be the platoon situation in right field. Where does that leave some of these other guys? Specifically Dominic Fletcher. He was kind of the presumed right field starter because we heard Getz say, like, look, we're not spending a ton of money. And that's the other reason I really like this Tauchman signing is because, like, if you don't have money to spend and you don't have a lot of resources, this is a good investment of limited resources. Because I think the White Sox have made it clear, like, we're not giving you much money to spend this offseason. We don't feel like we can contend. Your goal is to get money off the books, which is what we're going to get to in a second. So overall, all things considered, I'd give this signing a B+. Very happy with this signing. But now what does this do for the rest of the roster? So again, it doesn't look like they're going to be bringing in everyone else. So Fletcher was the presumed right field starter. Now where does he go? Because you got Andrew Benintendi in left field, highest paid player, franchise history. Don't think they're going to move off of him anytime soon. And then you got, as long as he's there, I mean, with that amount of money, he's going to be getting the starts. And then obviously your all-star center fielder, Luis Robert Jr. in center field. Now, lucky for those two, him and Oscar Colás, who's the other kind of guy in the mix here that I'm interested to see how this plays out. Both Benintendi and Robert are the White Sox are trying to trade him because, again, they're trying to get all this money off the books. Benintendi still has over $40 million left on his contract. 3 years, $40 million left on that 5-year contract. He has yet to post an OPS above 800 with the White Sox. They want to get that money off the books because that was an addition that they made at the time when they made that addition where they're like, this could be a supplemental piece to help us stay relevant and contend. Obviously, that went belly up. So Andrew Benintendi, he just doesn't fit on this team. He doesn't fit. He's not being productive. It's not. He's not going to be here when they're contending in the 3 years. Like, so they're trying to move off him. I don't see any other like suitors though that are because again, he hasn't been that great these last couple of years. I think this past season was his best season in the White Sox uniform, which isn't saying much. He's only had 2 of them, but like, you know, there was some encouraging signs, but I don't see any teams wanting to give up that, especially if the White Sox are expecting the team to eat a lot of money. You're not going to get anything in return. And I don't think many teams are in the market for an aging left fielder that doesn't really he has deteriorating power. The defense didn't look that great. So despite them trying to trade him, I still think it's going to be a platoon situation, right? Benintendi will be the primary left fielder. Now, Getz did say that you can see Slater and Tauchman moving around depending on matchup. So don't be surprised. They're not going to exclusively be playing right field. But I think those two, it's safe to say, going to be handling the bulk of the right field duties. Those two are going to cover that. So I don't think Benintendi is going to get traded. Now, Robert, I do think they are going to try and trade. It's just a matter of when. Does he make it to the season? And that's going to determine, I think, Fletcher's future. Colás, I think they already have it decided. And we'll get to him in a second now, too. Now, with Robert, this is interesting. The latest rumors are the Cincinnati Reds are interested in him. Chuck Garfien reported there's at least 6 teams that have expressed interest in Luis Robert. I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees kind of get involved there now with the Juan Soto devastation. You know, Luis Robert Jr., he's kind of a diet Juan Soto. Not really. You know, it's like the Roundy's brand, like the off brand of like, you know, the good product. Like that's what Luis Robert is for like a Juan Soto. Like if you're asking for, what's a good example of that? Yeah, you know, like it's the discount. It's the discount brand. So I could see them wanting to get him as well. But the White Sox, you know, they always do these. They always do this stupid thing like right now where they're trying to sell low on his value. He's coming off a terrible season, right? Like he did not have a good year last year by all of his standards. He was hurt for most of the year. That hip abductors really, it's a red flag for a lot of teams. So I think if they were smart, you'd bring him back and you'd at least let him play the first half of the season so you can rebuild that value. He's still got some team control, and then you can try and trade him when his value is at an all-time high. Because if you were going to move him, last offseason should have been this offseason to move him. But I digress. So apparently there's some anonymous executives that told ESPN that like they don't believe the White Sox are confident that he can have a bounce back season. And because of that, they are willing to just cut their losses and get rid of him now. They don't want to risk bringing him back and it gets worse and his trade value is even further diminished. They are not confident that he can stay healthy, put together a good bounce back season. I don't know if that's true. Maybe they're just trying to drive down the price. Like these executives, they will, working for a news station, people will leak stuff to you because they want stuff to get out if it's going to help them. So take that with a grain of salt. But even from what was reported from Buster Olney, just from what the White Sox sources were telling him, they're not looking for some massive return. They just want fair value. They get one solid top 100 prospect or something, or top 10 prospect in an organization, and they think it's a value. They're going to take that deal. It's not going to be some massive haul like you're going to see for Garrett Crochet. So I think that's kind of an interesting situation to monitor. I really think they are motivated to trade him just because, again, I mean, if this is a player you would think they'd want to be building around, but they don't think they can be competitive within the next 2 years as he's under contract. He's owed $15 million this upcoming season. That becomes $20 million the season after that. Why are the White Sox saw a process? Why are we paying a guy $20 million when we just lost 100 games with this guy? So if he does get moved, I think Fletcher now moves to center field, and then they kind of have that mix and match with Tauchman and them based off matchups. That's how kind of who's going to be playing a lot of the center and left field duties. Now, it was interesting. You would think this would be a great opportunity for Oscar Colás to finally get some runway, especially if both of these guys are traded. If both Benintendi and Robert are traded, which, again, I don't see anyone wanting Benintendi. I don't see any shot that happens. But let's say one of them is traded. You would think, okay, this is going to open up some playing time for Oscar Colás. Colás, for whatever reason, this front office does not like him. And it was expressed again because they asked, like, reporters were asking Chris Getz, hey, like, how do we feel about Oscar Colás seeing some playing time in right field? And he kind of pumped the brakes on that. And they asked him, like, hey, what does this Tauchman addition mean for the future of the team? And Getz, again, he was like, well, or his future with the team, I should say. And Getz was like, on Oscar Colás, he's like, well, we expect him to be at spring training. We'll see how it looks. Not exactly a ringing endorsement. We saw last year he came up for 12 games in June. They gave him 32 at-bats during that stretch. He only had 33 at-bats total all of last year. And despite hitting pretty well in those 32, he had 9 hits in his 32 at-bats during that stint in June. The White Sox sent him down. And Pedro Grifol said at the time it was a numbers game. But you look historically, there's a lot of people in that front office not fans of Oscar Colás. Number one, Chris Getz, who was not even shy about it. When he took over that job in 2023, he was like, Oscar Colás has to clean up a lot of his game. There's a lot of his game that we don't like right now. And then now you get the comments this year. Well, he's going to show up in spring training. They were putting him at first base last spring training just to try and move him positions. That doesn't seem to be, for whatever rhyme or reason, not a lot of confidence in Oscar Colás. I think this is probably one of his last seasons he's in the White Sox organization. I can't see any reason why they want to hang on to him, because this is the time to bring him up. He's over the age of 25. You invested a lot of money in this, resources into acquiring this guy. Now, if he stinks, he stinks, but like, give him a shot. He's not had an extended opportunity. We gave Lenyn Sosa an extended look last season when he never, his resume didn't say that he deserved this extended opportunity. But you give it to him because it's a bad team, and that's what you do on bad teams. You give these guys an opportunity. I would have, I'm not even a huge Colás fan. I don't think he's a future star by any means. But like, now would be the time to be giving him an extended look, you would think, especially if you're going to be moving Luis Robert. But it sounds like even if they do trade Luis Robert, especially because when Chris Getz says that, like, after we bring him in, he goes like, they're going to be a nice pair in right field, Tauchman and Slater, I should say. But then later goes, yeah, you can expect them to be moving around the outfield a little bit. They will not exclusively be in right field. That signals to me what everyone else is, the writing on the wall is like, we're trading one of these two guys. But then to come and be like, yeah, we don't even, like, it didn't sound like they were even open-minded to wanting to give Oscar Colás a look. So that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I would even give him, you got to give him more than 33 at-bats. And I think he hit like over 270 last year. It was like 273. I can pull this up, the numbers he had. Yeah, so last year he hit 273, 9 hits, and the 33 at-bats they gave him. I mean, what are we doing here, guys? You lost 121 games. What are we doing? Give the guy a look. Give the guy a look. So I thought that was we'll see. We'll see. A lot of this is going to hinge on if anyone gets moved. As things currently stand, he's not going to see the field at all this year. He's not going to even sniff the field because he's already buried behind the depth chart behind Fletcher. And even with Fletcher, say they move one of those guys, Fletcher kind of moves into the starting spot. He's still kind of the fourth guy lingering around. So if I had to set the over-under, we'll set the over-under in 25 games that Oscar Colás plays next season. Are you betting the over or the under? I think it'd be close. I would hope it'd be the over. I mean, 25 games is not a lot. But given the way they operate, like, what's the benefit of keeping him in AAA another full season? You've seen what he can do down there. Either move him, cut your losses, or give the kid a look. Quit wasting everyone's time with him. That's a little frustrating. I'd like to see a little bit more of Fletcher too. I'd be fine with Fletcher in center if you do move Robert. Now, again, I think it's dumb to move Robert. And here's why I think it would be dumb to move Robert. Did you see how much money Juan Soto made? $700 million. $700 million. The White Sox have even sniffed $700 million. They haven't even gone over $100 million on a contract yet. Andrew Benintendi is their highest paid player in franchise history. $75 million. That's not even paying, that wouldn't be enough to buy Juan Soto's jockstrap with that contract that he just got for $700 million. But that's the highest. So even when, and this is another thing that concerned me, when you see that deal, I think that deal is good. That despite what a lot of people think, that type of money getting dished out is good for baseball because it forces these cheapskate owners that can't pony up that type of cash to get out. Either you are in and investing in this baseball team because you want to win and you care about baseball and your team, or you don't, or you get out. That's going to drive a lot of these owners, like the Reinsdorfs of the world, out of the game because when you see a contract dished out like that. Good for the play. I'm happy for these guys. Let them get their money. Now, is it way more than I would have spent? Yeah. Am I spending $700 million on Juan Soto? No. But I think it's good that these players are getting that much money. And I think it signals this White Sox rebuild is going to take a long time if it ever even gets to the finish line. Because the last part of that rebuild is adding all these supplemental pieces around it. You're going to have to get some stars that can carry your team in the dog days of August when the prospects aren't hitting well. So you need that bona fide star you can rely on to help carry a team through those moments. But that comes up big when you need him in the postseason. That's why you pay a superstar like Shohei Ohtani or a Juan Soto to carry that team when everyone's struggling. The White Sox tried to do that with this first rebuild, and they just identified the wrong guys. It was smart in theory. They just spent the money on the wrong guys. They didn't get any true difference makers. They got a lot of good players in theory. They didn't add any great ones during that free agency run when you're looking at the Yasmani Grandals or the Liam Hendricks, which I wouldn't even put Liam Hendricks in that category because he's not like a bat. We're talking like a position player realm, but they just didn't identify the right guys. But now when we get to this point, because these contracts are just getting richer and richer and richer, do we think the Sox are going to be willing to spend all that much? They haven't shown they're willing to spend over $100 million. They're not going to be in the ballpark for any impact bats when it gets to that point. That's why I think they're so eager to move Crochet and Robert, because they want to get all these prospects in and kick the can down the road for when they have the pressure on them to be competitive. But even when they are in that competitive window, do I think they're going to be spending that much money on a superstar? No. That was a little disconcerting. I think it's good for the game because it's going to force owners to have to spend more and invest in players. But at the same time, if you're a White Sox fan, you can't be confident that they're going to spend that type of cash or make that type of investment necessary when the time comes. So this could be a perpetual rebuild. This might be, you better hope all these prospects are good, but you can't rely on, that's the other thing with these rebuilds. You cannot rely on every prospect to be good. The last White Sox rebuild, they assumed that every one of these guys was going to live up to 90% of their projected potential, which just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen with prospects. They're all not going to live up to potential. They're all not going to be superstars. So when you have an affordable superstar like Luis Robert Jr., maybe coming off a down season, but that's the type of guy you're going to want to be extending because you're not going to be in the market for the big boys. You got to settle for Diet Juan Soto. You wanted Church's chicken. Oh, Crochet. Oh, we got Bryant here saying Crochet to Boston. Now, see, that was going to be that. Who'd we get? Let's see what the return is. Oh ho! Okay, so live on the show. Garrett Crochet, Jeff Passan. Let's pull this up. Boston Red Sox are finalizing a trade to acquire left-hander Garrett Crochet from the Chicago White Sox. Sources tell ESPN the deal is in the medical phase, not official, but trending toward it. Oh, we don't even get the return yet. Oh, that's a tease. Jeff Passan giving us blue balls. Damn it. What's the return? So the Boston made sense. Boston did make sense. They were kind of rumored to be in on him, the majority of it. Now, really, once Max Fried signed, that kind of like, because I knew they wanted a starting pitcher. It's like, okay, Fried's off the board. We just got to hope Corbin Burns doesn't sign with the Red Sox, and we're okay. But, yeah, this could be big. I wonder if they got one of the big four. Now, there's a lot of debate going around. We'll hold on that. I'll keep refreshing until we find out what the return is. Man. But it's also like telling to me while we're refreshing this, Garrett Crochet, no, still don't have the return. Chuck Garfron was talking about the like 6 teams were interested in Luis Robert. There was like a dozen that were interested in Garrett Crochet. When there's that many teams interested in a player, I mean, I don't know. I think the Sox are making a mistake trading this guy. I think Crochet is going to be a generational type pitcher. He's just got that ability. The fact that he can blow guys away with a fastball and they know a fastball is coming and no one hits it, I think it's a great pickup. This is literally Chris Sale all over again. They are fleecing us all over. It's the same model. It's the same model. It's at times like just a loop. Garrett Crochet, like Chris Sale, he gets drafted first round. They immediately rush him to the majors. He starts in the bullpen. His rookie year, a few months after being drafted, he's pitching out of the bullpen. Finally makes the transition to a starter. Dominates right away, just on mediocre teams. So they trade him for all these prospects. That's literally to a T what happened with Garrett Crochet. Let's see here. Okay, no, they're still. Still waiting for this return here. Medical phase. That's frustrating. So Brian's saying Kyle Teal is the focal point of this trade. Now, I'm not going to act like I am well-versed on the Red Sox farm system at this point. We'll pull up. Let's see. Kyle Teal, Boston Red Sox. Catcher, Kyle Teal. He was with their AAA affiliate last year. Kyle Teal, 22 years old, 6', 190. Pretty good numbers. His career numbers. He's got a career slash line, 301, 404, 848 OPS. Last season, hit 13 home runs in AAA, 78 RBIs, hit 288, 819 OPS. He was the Eastern League MVP. Or wait, nope, that was Campbell. Yeah, no, okay. So 2023, Kyle Teal, 2023 Red Sox, #1 overall pick. If that's the focal point, yeah, way to go, Brian. That's Brian's on it before pass. I mean, he pulled this up before pass. I'm on the damn street. Shout out, Brian, putting in good work here. I like getting another catcher. I do. Teal looks like he's pretty solid too. You have him and Curo is your two battery mates coming up. I would hope one of them could hit. But that's the other thing too. When you get that Walker McKibben into your organization, he was kind of the catcher whisperer up with the Brewers. So you bring in a Teal, and now you got a Curo, because he did a lot of work. McKibben did a lot of work with William Contreras when he came over into the Brewers organization. Terrible defensive catcher. -11 defensive run saved when he joined that organization. After working with McKibben for a little bit, that switched to a +11 defensive run saved. Pretty drastic turnaround. He became an all-star. So they really praised him for his work developing catchers. Now you got 2 good young catchers. You also got Corey Lee, who's a pretty good defensive catcher, at least from throwing people out. That's an interesting mix. Now, I would hope he's a lot more than just Kyle Teal. As Brian, as our resident Jeff Passan, the better. You know what? Jeff Passan's the discount Brian. That's what we're going. Just like Juan Soto or Luis Roberts, the discount Juan Soto. Jeff Passan, discount Brian S, baby. But yeah, so that's a pretty good start. And 22 kind of fits that window still too. The White Sox were saying they didn't want any guys that had major league experience as part of this trade. So and Brian's saying he played a little bit of outfield too. He could hit. That's all. I mean, and the defense is important, obviously. Defense was champ, but we needed some bats in this organization. We needed some bats, plain and simple. And this guy, he can hit. I mean, or at least in his first couple of years, and getting drafted in 2023, he's already at the AAA level, and he's raking at the AAA level too. That's an encouraging sign. So that's good to hear. We will stay on until this whole, hopefully this trade. Well, we got another. Let's talk. Okay, we'll wait until we get this. Till we get the final. Okay, Passan just reported 4 prospects here. Ooh, let's pull up Jeff Passan. Okay, so Ken Rosenthal, here we go. Garrett Crochet for catcher Kyle Teal, outfielder Braden Montgomery, infielder Chase Meardroth, and right fielder Welkman Gonzalez. All right, you know what? Let's just look up all these guys. We're going to do this on the fly. So we talked a little bit about Kyle Teal. I'll be honest, I don't know if this is a good return or not. I really don't. Let's see. Braden Montgomery. Let's see what he did. Swiss Army knife, they're calling this guy. All right. Okay. Let's see. So Braden Montgomery, 21 years old. Why did they not have any stats for my friend Braden Montgomery? Oh, Jesus. Sorry, this is a terrible operation we're running here. We'll see if we can pull it. He was the 12th round pick in 2024, drafted 12th overall. All right, here, let's see what MLB.com. So this is the outfield of the White Sox now. Now, outfield was a position of need for them. Texas A&M product sustained a broken right ankle while playing in the NCAA Super Regional against Oregon. No wonder he didn't have any stats last year. He was injured. So he sounds like a White Sox already. But they said evidence on the industry was full display. Pick 12. They don't have a ton on them. Right-handed bat. 12th overall pick. Texas A&M. Not a ton. Okay, so we'll see what else they got in here. Chase Meardroth. Oh, here we go. This is from Massline. From an unranked baseball prospect. That's not what we want. I'm sorry, folks. This is what happens when we breaking news and we're not prepared for it. Let's look up. Let's see who Chase Meardroth. Okay. Chase Meardroth is a shortstop, 23 years old, 5'10", 170. Last year, he was Worcester White Red Sox All-Star, baby. So he's in AAA as well. Last year, he put up pretty good numbers last year, too. He slashed 293, 437, 400, 837 OPS. Only 7 home runs, but look at this. 105 walks. He gets on base. Love that. Year before, he had 80 walks. He played all of last year in AAA. The year before that, 2 seasons in a season in high A, double A. Yeah, so then Meardroth, he looks pretty good. He looks like a pretty good player. 23 years old, shortstop, walks a lot, hit 292 last year, puts the ball in play. I like that. That looks pretty good. All these guys are top 100 prospects. All of these guys, top 15 in their system, or in the White Sox farm system, I should say, or Red Sox, I should say. I guess they're probably going to be top 15 in the White Sox farm system right now. So that leaves Welkman. Let's see who this Gonzalez character is. But so far, I like Teal. The Meardroth looks good too. And then the final one of this is, how do we pronounce this? White. Oh, man. Gonzalez. All right, let's see who we got here. Baseball reference. No, that's not what we want. Fine to be in. So they're number 4, 5, 11, and 13 in the White Sox or the Red Sox farm system. Gonzalez, 22 years old, 6 foot, number 92. Interesting. He's been in the Red Sox farm system a while here, it looks like. Right-handed pitcher. And last year with Double-A, he had a 4.73 ERA. Let's see what is up. But he did hold opponents to a 198 average, so it looks like he's got decent stuff. Let's see what his walk rate was. 46 walks. That's not terrible. 125. Okay, you know what? We can work with that. Look, we'll see if these guys pan out. It looks like a pretty good return. But you take prospects with a grain of salt. I mean, I think the Gets did a good job. Based off of what we're just learning here, you get all top 100 prospects. That's a good return for Garrett Crochet. I still don't agree with the trade. Garrett Crochet, you had a guy that you knew could be an effective MLB pitcher, generational type talent. I will say that until the cows come home. I think he's a guy that you try and build around because they don't come around that often. And you're banking on one of these guys, hoping they can become this good. So let's just caution the break because we said the same thing. Arguably on paper, the return for Chris Sale was just as good as not better as this one because there's the number one prospect in baseball with Yohan Moncada. So take it with a grain of salt. We will see. Given the state of this organization, though, right now, I mean, some of these guys could be getting some playing time. Brian, he goes, Droth. I got to find out how to pronounce this correctly, too. I'm not doing you guys a good service here, but he might be the opening day second baseman or third baseman next year. I could easily see him. At second base. I do think Meadroth. Thank you, Brian. Brian's a real MVP here today. Meadroth might be the opening day second baseman or third baseman. I would suspect second base just because I do think they are still confident in Vargas. I think they do want to give him more of an extended look. Doesn't look like outfield. I think him and Ramos compete for third. Maybe you get a little bit of Vargas in left field as well, just with if they do happen to move Benintendi. But we might be seeing this Meadroth as our second baseman next year. So that's exciting. I got to write about this for Sports Mocker. We'll get into more of these guys, and we'll have more of a breakdown of this trade, of who all these guys are once we get a full week full of research. So we get a little bit of a better idea. But on the surface, it seems like pretty good return for Garrett Crochet, which is what you would hope because there's a lot of teams interested in him. So, I mean, if you didn't get anything like this, it would have been unacceptable at that point. I mean, it just would have. There's not a lot of guys that are under control for that cheap. I mean, you've heard it before. We've been talking about this for a while, but not bad. Finally, I do want to talk about this. A bit of a sadder note. Obviously, we lost Bill Melton this past week. Now, I never got the chance to watch him play, but I do remember him on the pre and post game shows, and I always did appreciate his insight. I thought he did have kind of a good sense of humor too, and he was a really good storyteller. A lot of times he would be on there, and I thought it was fitting that same week that Dick Allen, the two were teammates, back-to-back American League home run kings. Bill Melton hit 33 in 1970, I believe it was, and then Dick Allen comes along 71, and then outdoes him by one. He hits 34. But I thought it was fitting, the two that were right, the sweet spot of the order, batting third and cleanup. The Bill Melton went to go see Dick Allen up in heaven right before he finally got inducted into the baseball or elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, he's such a deserving. I mean, that was always my dad's favorite player. He would always talk about how great Dick Allen was. And you look at the numbers he had during his 3 seasons with the White Sox, just making some pretty bad teams otherwise watchable. But he played, I think he probably played his best baseball of his career with the White Sox. 1972, he led the league in WAR, home runs, RBIs, walks, and on-base percentage. An 8.6 WAR, 34 homers, 113 RBIs, 99 walks. And he won league MVP. With the White Sox, he had 2 seasons. He was an all-star in all 3 of his seasons with the White Sox, batted over 300 in each season, and led the AL in home runs twice with them. Not many guys in that short amount of time that can make that big of an impact on his organization. And along the way, had one of the most iconic covers of Sports Illustrated ever. Little backstory about that cover. Interestingly enough, the photographer who was sent to Chicago that week, they knew they were just supposed, he was initially just supposed to get a photo for a column they wanted to do about the MLB. Was not supposed to be the cover, just like a little side column about baseball and stuff. And so he gets over there, and they took a couple photos of him during the game. But before the game, he was just kind of messing around, juggling with the baseballs. You know, he's got the cigarette hanging out the right side of his mouth. And that's the one he captured. And they got a bunch of other ones afterwards. But he said when he was uploading them all afterwards, he was like, this is the one I knew I wanted to use. So that was the one he submitted for the column. And then he gets back to the office, and like they were like, congratulations on making the cover. And the photographer was like, well, cover? Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, your image of Dick Allen. They thought it was so good, Sports Illustrated put it on the cover. Interestingly enough, in that article or that issue, there's not a feature story about Dick Allen. There's a little blurb that they had about the MLB, but there was no feature story about him. They just liked the image that much. They put it on the cover, and that gave him a lot of publicity. Dick Allen said, like, afterwards, too, he, like, really loved the image, but funny enough, the White Sox ended up getting reprimanded for getting caught smoking in the dugout by the media. But he said he didn't care because he got a lot of good publicity out of it. Another interesting fact about Dick Allen, too, his family was saying that post-playing career, he never wanted to talk about himself. He was more interested in horse racing and talking about that than he was his playing career. But just a cool dude. I think that photo, it just kind of encapsulates, he marches to the beat of his own drum, perfectly encapsulates cool. So congratulations to his family. You know, I'm happy they finally get to see their old man and, you know, Dick Allen get into the Hall of Fame, because it was long overdue. It was a shame he couldn't be there to deserve it. But like, when you look at the numbers, guy was excellent. And one of the more iconic images. And despite the fact playing most of his career with the Phillies, I mean, that guy, he was true Southsider for sure. Cannot tell the history of the White Sox without Dick Allen. That's all we got for you tonight at 8. Pinwheels and Ivy. They're going to mostly be talking about, but they will be addressing this trade too. You can get a little bit more from them, from some much smarter baseball minds in K-Fids and Aldo. We'll be back next week at the 12 o'clock hour, probably around 12:30-ish. We'll get more into this trade, but thank you all so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week.